Hello, everyone. All right. Hello, everyone. Hey, Flavia, I notice you're here. Hello. Can you do me a favor and tell me if my YouTube is working correctly or not? I think it is, but recently I've noticed that there are some problems sometimes. If you could just tell me, that would be great. All right, well, oh, it is. Thank you, Zoe. All right, good. Um, if you have questions, you can ask me your questions. That's what I'm here for. Andy, I see Andy is raising her hand. Andy, do you have a question? You need to have a question to come on stage. That's my only rule. If you want to come talk to me, you can, but you have to have a question or a topic or something. Sometimes people raise their hand, they come on stage, and they're just like, "Hi," and they don't have a question, they don't have a topic, they just want to practice their English, and I understand, but that only benefits them, and I need to do things that benefit everyone. So that's why you need to have a question so that I can ask that I can answer the question so everybody can benefit from the answer. All right? Can I give you some advice on how to improve your oral English quickly? Well, I can if you tell me what's wrong with your oral English. I can't tell you how to improve it if I don't know what's wrong with it. And hello, Jojo. What can you do if you don't find any language partner to talk with? Andy, if you can find a language partner, that's great. But there is no reason why you need to stop practicing language just because you can't find a partner. You can practice the language every day by thinking in English. This is the number one piece of advice that I give. I don't care what language you are learning. Confidence, comfortability, and fluency happen only after you learn how to think in that language. If you are translating everything in your head, you are not speaking that language. You're translating that language. So when you learn a language, you need to learn how to think in that language. And if you can't, then you can't practice without a partner. But I live in the United States. I live in the United States, but I can practice Chinese anytime I want, just by thinking in Chinese when I do whatever. Okay? That's right. Practice talking by thinking first. Your brain, your mind is a practice room. It's a language practice room. It's a thought practice room. So if you want to speak well about a subject, you think about it first. If you want to speak well, like you have good ideas, you can't do that until you think first. And if you think about it in that language, then when you speak, you'll be comfortable in that language. All right? All right, now let's see. Next question. You're afraid to speak about English. Tan tan. Stop. Why are you afraid? It's just a language. It's just words. Maybe you'll be a little bit embarrassed. Let me ask you a question. Wait a minute, let me think about the right words. Hold on. If you needed to, for example, if your son or your daughter were running into the street and they're in the street, right? They're in the street and a car is coming. Are you going to be shy in that situation? Are you going to be afraid to speak if you see a child in the road? No, you will not. Why not? If you see a child in the road, you will speak because you know you need to. So that means that shyness is a choice. You choose to be shy. You don't have to be. When you need to be, you don't need to be shy. So then just choose not to be shy. It's only words. It's only words. Okay? Give me a tip, please, Teacher Mark. I can understand everything about natives, but I can't talk. Lazy, you need more practice, and you need practice with thinking in English. So if you can understand them, that's great, but that means you feel like your brain is too slow to be able to talk with them, to reply. And your brain is too slow because you can't think well in English, because you never practice thinking in English. So every time you try, it's uncomfortable because you never do it. Start doing it, it will become comfortable. When it's comfortable, then you'll be able to talk. All right? All right. Easy 5. Any tips for learning? Vikram. My 5 easy tips for learning to speak English would be, I've been on HelloTalk for 12 years. I am one of the #1 recommended teachers on HelloTalk. I am a teacher, a real teacher. I've been teaching since 1994. I've been teaching English since 2009. I have 84,000 followers, 83,000, 84,000 followers. That means that every day people are here asking me questions about reading, writing, listening, speaking, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, confidence, public speaking, accent, everything. All right? And I have already done 1,200 live streams, and I've already recorded 2,000 hours on YouTube. So my tip would be 5 days a week, watch me. There's your 5 tips. Monday, watch me. Tuesday, watch me. Wednesday, watch me. Thursday, watch me. Friday, watch me. There's 5 easy tips. When I try to talk without translating, I always speak with the wrong tense. I get confused between past and past perfect. Please give me some tips. Okay, well, first of all, Andy, if you are taking a test, like the TOEFL test or the IELTS test, or a test at school, grammar is important. If you are at school, grammar is important. If you are at work and your work uses English, then grammar is important. But if you're just talking with your friends, grammar's not that important. Okay? Life is not a grammar test. Let me say that again. Life is not a grammar test. So, if you say the wrong tense, sometimes, okay, the world will go on. The sun will rise tomorrow. Okay, the birds will fly and sing. Okay? If you make a mistake and you say the wrong tense, the sky will not fall. I promise you. Okay? So, relax. Relax. And guess what? I want you to make mistakes. The more you make mistakes, the faster you'll learn which one is right and which one is wrong. So if you're afraid to make mistakes, you're afraid to speak. You're afraid to try. So that means you never make mistakes, which means you never learn which one is right and which one is wrong. So what you should do is boldly make mistakes, because mistakes, if you're making mistakes, you're making progress. If you're not making mistakes, I promise you're not making progress. Okay? If you're not making mistakes, you're not making progress. So, go make some mistakes and learn. Okay? All right, let's see. And past perfect, I'll tell you how to work on that, Andy. What does perfect mean? Everybody, what does perfect mean? The word perfect, what does it mean? If I say it's perfect, wow, that's perfect, what does that mean? So Diran says the work is done, and Hinoki says flawless. You're both right, but Hinoki's definition, flawless, that is the most commonly understood definition of the word perfect. The most common use of the word perfect does not mean completed. If I say your test is perfect, good job, it doesn't mean your test is completed. It means your test is really good. It's without flaw. It's 100%. It's perfect. But the old meaning of the word perfect comes from the Latin word perfectum, which means completed. So you're right. It does mean completed, but only when we're talking about grammar. So present perfect means something that was completed, right? Past perfect means something completed in the past. Something you started in the past and finished in the past. It's completed, right? It's perfect. So you need to remember that the most common definition of perfect is great, so good, perfect, wonderful, without flaw, 100% perfect. But the other meaning of perfect is completed. So what you can do is don't call those tenses, don't say the word perfect anymore when you're talking about a tense. Say present completed, past completed. Because when you just describe it as past completed, now it sounds a lot more like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's the past completed tense. It's things that were completed in the past. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Let me keep going here. How to pronounce the flap T as the Americans. I'll tell you what you should do is you should stop thinking about it. There are some times when you're thinking too much about something. Like you're looking at a detail so closely that you can't really understand how to use it because you're looking too closely. Right? So that's kind of what I think about the flap T. The flap T is really, the best way I've heard described it is this. I want you to imagine that the letter T has two pronunciations. One is the slow pronunciation and the other is the fast pronunciation. So, for example, if I say the word butter, 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 when it's slow, there's a hard T. I want some butter. It's a T. It's a hard T. But when you speed up the word butter, that T begins to sound like a soft D, which is what you call the flap T, which is a stupid name for it. It's a really stupid name for it. The best way I've heard described is that I want you to imagine that the sound of T, let's just take the sound of T and cut the first half of it off. Okay? So we cut the first half of the letter T off, which means that when you say the letter T, it's not so strong, which is why butter becomes butter and better becomes better. So just imagine you're just saying the last half of the letter T, not the first half. So it's softer sounding. Okay? All right. Thank you, Tan. Hello, Chloe. Hello, Andrea. Tan, it's okay. When I speak Chinese, I have all kinds of grammar mistakes. I don't really care. I'm not trying to take a test. I'm just trying to communicate. Relax. Relax. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Hello, Duran. I'm fine. Okay, let's see. What is the meaning of pass out? Well, it has a couple of meanings. It depends on the context. To pass out papers means to give them, right? So when I'm a teacher, I have to pass out your homework, or I pass out a worksheet, right? Let me pass these out, okay? But pass out could have another meaning. Maybe you drank too much alcohol and you passed out because it means that you are not conscious anymore. You're you're sleeping essentially. You drank so much that you are sleeping. That's called being passed out. Okay? You learned two words, famished and jackpot. Yeah, famished. We use the word famish. We say famished like I'm really hungry. I'm famished. I'm really hungry. Yeah. And jackpot, it means you won something. We hit the jackpot. It means we won. Okay, let's see. Can we learn good English speaking skills from listening carefully daily? Vikram, you can learn to speak English well if you listen daily, if you listen to the right people. That is the problem. When you practice listening, you listen to anybody and you don't care. You're not Careful. You don't look to think about, is this person a good speaker? Do they speak well? On a scale of 1 to 10, what rating is their English? Is their English a 5? Are they a 6? Are they a 10? And do they speak more properly or more commonly? Do they use a lot of slang language or a lot of academic language? Choose carefully who you listen to. If you listen to garbage, then you're practicing garbage. Got it? All right. Hello, Anessa. You live in the U.S., but you feel nervous when you use it? Don't worry about it. Amar. Where do you live in the U.S.? What state are you in? What state? I'm in Ohio. Where are you? Hello, Donnie. Hello to all the new people. Andy, you could say, did you complete your work or have you completed your work? When you say did you don't need to use the ed because did is already the past form of do. Did you complete your work? Have you completed your work? When you use have you, now you're using that past perfect tense, implication. How can you learn English faster? Maria, you can't. You can't because skills are never finished. There is no finish line to a skill. A skill is something that you continue to work on forever. So if there's no finish, then you can't get there faster. Right? So that's why, Maria, you should not think about how long it takes. You should just focus on consistent practice and consistent focus. Okay, dedication. You have to be dedicated and consistent. That's really the number one most important thing if you're trying to improve a skill. All right? Now, I know what you mean. I know you want to have an ability to feel comfortable but not perfect. You just want to be able to use it, right? Maria, if you watch me for a few weeks, you'll hear a bunch of tips that will help you learn faster and feel more comfortable more quickly. Okay? Keep watching. And keep asking questions. All right, let's see. Your current level is around A2 to B1. Can I increase my level to C1 within a year? You can, but you also might not. It depends on you. I don't know. It depends on your ability. It depends on how much time you have. It depends on your system and method. Do you have a good system and a good method of learning and studying? Or do you just try to memorize everything? Which is what most people do. So if you have a good system and you are dedicated and you spend a lot of time, then yes, I think that, well, I'll say this. No, I think maybe let me change my answer just a little bit. You said, can I go from B1 to C1 in 1 year? That might be hard because B1 and B2, that's most of English. Most of English lives in the B1, B2 neighborhood. So that means it's a really big neighborhood. Okay? So, the C1 neighborhood, a little smaller. The C2 neighborhood, it's actually pretty small. Okay? But the B2 neighborhood is a big neighborhood. That means it's going to take you a long time to get familiar with that neighborhood. I would say that within 1 year, you definitely can go from B1 to B2. All right? You definitely can do that within 1 year. Being able to master 2 levels in 1 year, especially in that neighborhood where that's what we call the meat of it. That means that's where most of it is. Okay? That's difficult. All right? All right, let's see. Your problem is during a conversation I block because many times the words don't come out and I feel very sorry and angry. So that means you forget, like you get stuck, right? It happens. It happens. Don't worry about it. The more you use it, the less that will happen. It's very simple. The more you use the language, the less you will have those moments of like, words gone, can't speak, words gone. That's because you're just not comfortable yet. Okay? It's like when you jump in the water the first time, when you don't know how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, jumping in the water is very scary. Right? We're all scared to jump in the water the first time, right? And then you get in the water. But when you get in, you're not comfortable yet. You're very uncomfortable. You're nervous. You're worried. You don't know what is this water and how does this work? Is this okay or not? You're not comfortable, right? Why are you not comfortable? Because you haven't done it. So how can you fix that? Do it more. Okay? If you swim every day, are you going to forget how to swim? No. But if you swim once a year, you might. All right? So, swim more. Swim in the language of English. All right, let's see how to pronounce the L and the R. Fred. For Chinese people, this one is always funny to me because many Chinese people have trouble with the L and the R sound. They get them kind of confused. Some people say the L like an R and some people say the R like an L. But it confuses me because both the L sound and the R sound do exist in Chinese. So, for example, Fred, the number 2 in Chinese, 1, 2, 3, 2, that R sound, R, that's very close to the R. If you just take the number 2 in Chinese and pull it to stretch it, R, that's the letter R in English. It's the number 2 in Chinese. Okay? And the letter L, there are 2 things in Chinese that get said a lot. One is anything in past tense. How do you say past tense things in Chinese? Le. Right? You just put the le on the end of it. Right? And le, L-E, le. That's the L sound. Yes, le. Right? Or, Fred, 我爱吃辣. La. That's the same L. So, la, like spicy, and le, both have the l. That's the L. That's the L sound. All right? So the number 2 in Chinese is very close to the American R sound, and the sound of l and la both sound very similar to the L sound in American English. Okay? 我不知道中文，为什么你问我？我不会说。Okay, let's see. Please be patient. There are many, many comments and questions, so please be patient. I tried to answer almost all of them, but that means that you have to wait. And if you cannot wait, I will not answer. If you have no patience, I have no patience for you. Be patient. Okay, let me check my comments and questions again. What's the difference between pass out and blackout? Sometimes nothing, Amar. Sometimes when people said he blacked out, he passed out, that means the same thing. But, Amar, sometimes blackouts happen. Passed out means you're asleep. You're on the floor, in the bed, on the couch, you're asleep. You're not moving. Blackout is when you are drinking, but you're still doing things. You're talking to people, you're going places, but tomorrow, you will have no memory. Your memory of all of that time will be blacked out. So blacking out doesn't necessarily mean you're passed out. Okay? Usually people black out, then they pass out. That's why I don't like drinking alcohol anymore. Okay, let's see. Pass out can mean to give out, yes. To pass out the equipment, to pass out the papers, to pass out your homework, yes. Hand out, pass out, they're both about the same meaning. Do I play the Powerball? No. I've only played the lottery a few times in my life. I'm not really much of that kind of a person. Can TV shows improve your speaking? Which TV show? There are hundreds of them. Some of them could, yes. Some of them, no. So you have to remember, TV is not meant for learning. TV is meant for entertainment. But guess what? Children's TV is usually both. So if you watch children's shows like Peppa Pig is for kids, but it's designed to teach also. So you can learn English pretty well if you watch things like Peppa Pig. But if you watch things like Family Guy, sorry, I don't think that's going to help your English at all. Probably. All right? It's probably just going to frustrate you. Okay. Please be patient. Can I suggest any channel where you can listen? They're good at English. Yes, Andy. Go to my website. Wait a minute. Here is my website. I will show you. Let me pull it up. Let's see. My stomach. I gotta eat something. This is my website. If you go to my website, you can do a few things. One, you can come here and book lessons with me online. When I say book lessons with me, I mean you can pay me money and then I will teach you privately. Okay? But it's not free. Sometimes people hear me say I have lessons and you think it's free. Why do you think it's free? Teaching is a job. This is my job. All right? So, book lessons, that's right here. My blog is right here. If you go to my blog, I have many articles I've written. them. I wrote them. They're about English. They're about learning. Go read them. Okay? Almost all of my best answers are on my blog. Resources. This is the one you really need. Click on this and watch what happens. Wow! Teacher Mark's Top English Resources. Below, I have gathered together all the best English study and practice resources I could find from all over the internet just for my subscribers. So look, reading, writing, listening, speaking, IELTS and TOEFL, grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Click on these. Here's reading. Look, there's all these links for helping you learn how to read better, right? Or improving your reading or practicing your reading, okay? And you said you wanted what? Listening? Okay, let's go to listening. ESL Lounge listening, ESL Gold listening, Breaking News in English listening, ELL listening, Talk English, TED Talks. Those are great for listening. All right? So if you want to study English, you can go to my website and you can click on these and find a lot of amazing resources for studying, okay, for self-study. Now, is it free? It is free. It is free, but you have to give me your email. That's all. Just an email, okay? I need a contact. That's all. All right? So go check out my website, and then you can study. All right? Now, next question. Next question. Let's see. Oh, Lord. Any one thing we must learn in English for progress in this? For progress in what, Vikram? No one thing in particular. My one thing is thinking in English. Thinking in English. Thinking in English. If you can't think in the language, you can't speak the language. You've been studying for 1 year since you came here when your English was 0. Now it's B1. That's great. Good for you. That's amazing. Congratulations. Keep working on it. I can't express my thoughts freely. It usually costs 5 or 10 seconds before I speak. What should I do to improve my oral English? Liam, sometimes 5 or 10 seconds before you speak is a good thing. Okay, Liam? Sometimes people feel like they can't take a second. They can't wait. They can't pause. They have to speak quickly. But that's not true. It's not true. I do it here often. Sometimes people ask me a question and I have to think about my answer for a minute first. And Liam, I will look at the camera and I will say, that's a good question. Let me think about my words for a minute. And I literally sit here and I think about my words for a minute. And then I say, okay, here's my answer. That doesn't make you look like your English is bad. That makes you look like you are a thoughtful person. You are careful with your words. You want to give a good answer. Okay? Language has no speed. So stop trying to go so fast. It's not about fast. It's about good. It's about controlled. Do you have control of your vocabulary? Do you have control of your reading and writing and listening and speaking? Do you have control of your thinking? Do you have control of your grammar and your pronunciation? Doing something well is about having control over it. It's not about fast or slow or medium. It's about all of them. Control means you can do it fast, you can do it slow, and you can do it in the middle. All right? So, what you should be trying to do is get control. All right? Slow down. It's okay to slow down, especially since you're doing it in another language. And Liam, especially when I say Chinese, sometimes in Chinese I have to think about my words for a second too. That's all right. All right? How can you learn idioms very simply? You can't really learn them very simply. Well, okay. Idioms have a story. Almost every idiom has a funny or interesting story about where that idiom comes from. Okay? Some of them don't really have a story. They're just an obvious way to teach something. Like, to kill two birds with one stone, that's an idiom that exists in many cultures. To kill two birds with one stone. What does it mean? We know what it means. Everybody knows what it means. It's a story of saying, well, we can do one thing that does two things. One thing with two actions, right? So that's, or I should say one action, two things, right? So idioms have a story. The stories are interesting. If it's interesting, you'll remember. That's one. Two, I would say learn them a few at a time. So see if you can learn 3 every day or 5 every week. Choose a number and see if you can learn a few, each day or each week, right? And then find them in common dialogue, right? So I use one book for teaching sometimes. There's a book I use called Speak English Like an American. And it's a book that has a bunch of fake conversations. And these conversations use a lot of idioms and common phrases. And it teaches you how to use them in a context, right? So that's useful. Okay, there you go. Geez. Hussein, yes, if you go to my YouTube channel, everything I do on Hello Talk is on YouTube at the same time, or almost everything. So where's my YouTube? It's right here. Yeah. Go there and you can find my YouTube videos and watch them again and again and again. Okay? All right, let's see. It's difficult for me to pronounce sixth. Yeah, that's a hard one. So, sick. That's what it is. Sick. Sick. Sixth. Sixth. It's hard. But practice it slowly, Anne. Learning a body movement is about doing it a lot, repetition, okay? But you have to do it slowly. If you do it fast, your brain will not learn it. It will not see it. It's too fast. Slow it down so your brain can see the new thing it's trying to learn. So, sick, sixth. Okay? All right. I'm almost caught up, I think. The name of the website, which website, I'm not sure. Sometimes I don't know who's talking about what. My website is AFIEC English. It's right here. That's my website. I think that's the one you're talking about. All right. Let's see. Please be patient. All right. All right. Srihari says, actually, I can understand English and also I can frame sentences, but I can't speak loud. I don't know where I make mistakes. You don't know where you make mistakes because you don't speak loud. Out loud. If you never speak out loud and you never make mistakes, then you can't find your mistakes. Isn't that funny? I don't know what my mistakes are, so I never speak. Because I don't want to make mistakes. It doesn't make sense, everybody. If you want to know what your mistakes are, then make mistakes. Okay? Make the mistakes, then you can find out what they are, and then you can learn, you can improve, you can fix it. But if you never speak, you never make mistakes, and you never learn what your mistakes are. Okay? Okay. Again, my website, guys, you can find all of my links are here on my link tree. If you go to my link tree, you can find my website. If you go to my link tree, you can find my YouTube, my podcast, my blog. All four of those things are on my link tree. Okay? Okay. Geez. I'm trying to keep up. Yes, I want to talk to somebody on stage, Vadim. I just am trying to answer all the questions so I don't get backed up. Okay, I think I'm just about caught up. Do I think it's important to focus on pronunciation when learning English? Hazel, I think that you need to have clear pronunciation, but you don't need to have perfect pronunciation. I don't care if you have an accent. Nobody really does. Okay? What they care about is if you have an accent that makes your English sound unclear, now that's a problem. All right? So if your accent makes your English so bad that people can't understand you, that's a problem. You have to fix that. Okay? But you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be clear. All right? What about the Bilibili app? Can I get access to it if the videos are uploaded there? Not yet, but maybe soon. I'm working on trying to do more with Chinese social media, but it's a pain in my butt. How's my Chinese? I think I speak really bad Chinese really well. Okay? So my Chinese is really terrible, but I know how to use terrible Chinese really well. Okay, I'm almost caught up, and then I want somebody up on stage. Please raise your hand if you want to come up on stage. What do I think about translating vocabulary words into your language? I think you should try not to do that. I think you should try to learn how to not translate. That's the goal. If you're translating, you're not speaking the language. That's what I'm trying to teach you. There are 5 parts, 5 active parts of language. The 5 active parts of language are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Those are the ones you know. And then thinking is the most important active part of language. 5 active parts of language. 3 passive parts of language. Grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Okay, so there are 3 passive things that you need to learn and 5 active things you need to learn. All right. Okay, so there are about 120 people here. Let me just tell everybody, if you are new, everybody who's new comes here and they say, how can I improve my English, Teacher Mark? That's not a good question. Okay? But here's what I will tell you. Follow me and you will improve. All right? 83,000 people follow me here on Hello Talk. I'm the #1 recommended teacher on Hello Talk, I think. I think. I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I've been doing live streams for 5 years. I've done more than 1,200 live streams. And I teach about everything. So if you want to improve your English, follow me. I'm here Monday through Saturday. George left the chat. Yeah, see, isn't that what happens every single time? It happens all the time. All right. Okay, I'm going to get somebody up on stage. Let's talk to Vadim. Thank you for being patient, Vadim.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am doing great. I have some free time here in the clinic. It
Ah,
is my second time when I am broadcasting from this room, and you know that I am your big fan, and I am so amazed by your live streams, and I try to visit your live streams every time when you start them. I will be laconic right here, right now. I will try to ask you some interesting questions for my opinion.
okay.
I feel some frustration and disappointment. Why? Because I feel that I stuck in the same level of my English. That I know many. I have learned a lot of usual words. I know many English words of basic English, and I suppose that my level of English is around maybe B2. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I I am accustomed to be smart and equivocal in my native language,
Mm,
and sometimes I feel so some being
yeah.
limited in English, and it's so frustrating for me
Mm,
to feel these condition that I can't express
mm-hmm,
my thoughts
mm-hmm,
brightly
mm-hmm.
and in proper way. And sometimes I understand that I don't try to speak. I
Mm,
am a bit relaxed when I am talking,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
but I feel that it's uncomfortable for me that I can extract some complicated and maybe advanced words from my mind, and I feel some discomfort
Mm-hmm.
because of this situation. Maybe you have some comments.
Sure. Yeah, it's normal. It's a very, very normal thing when you learn a new language. That, of course, the balance is not the same. In your native language, you have this ability to express yourself so clearly and so perfectly. But you're learning a new language, and of course, they're not the same. They may never match. Like I don't think my Chinese will ever be at the same level as my English, and that's okay. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me that that's the way it is. But what I would say is, well, for one thing, some people they assume that you should be able to reach that point, but I don't think you necessarily will ever reach that point. And the second thing is, this is one of the reasons why it's such a great reason to learn a language. Because when you learn a language, it's humbling. It's very humbling. It makes you realize that, wow, man, I can't even say simple things in this other language. It must be really hard for some people. Yeah, it is. That's why it's such a good idea to learn another language, because it teaches you the empathy of language. That's so important. That's why it is funny in America, because in America most people don't speak another language. They might have studied one at some point, but most of them never really achieved any skill, or maybe they completely forgotten everything, right? But there are some people here who will get frustrated when someone's speaking and they can't speak well, like, a foreigner, right? And I find that to be so hilarious, because it's like, man, you can't even speak, you can barely speak one language and you're trying to make fun of them. They speak two and maybe more. So whenever I hear somebody who has an accent or is struggling to speak my language, that just reminds me that they speak another one, and and that maybe they're really eloquent in that language. so I shouldn't assume anything about their intelligence. You know, do you know how I learned this? I'll tell you how I learned this, Vadim. I learned this when I was dating a girl. I was dating a girl when I was living in Taiwan, and she was a really smart girl, very smart. I'm what's called a sapiosexual, which means that I really can't. I only like smart girls. I like smart. Smart is what's most important to me. And so she's a super smart girl, of course. But then sometimes when we were dating, I'm a teacher. It's my natural tendency to want to explain things to people. But sometimes I would explain things to her that she understood just fine, but I thought she didn't understand because of the way she spoke. And I had to learn that just because she couldn't say her answers perfectly eloquently doesn't mean that she doesn't have the answer. It's just her answer would be in her language perfect. In my language, not so perfect. So sometimes we would argue because it was a struggle for her. She couldn't express some things, like if we were arguing. She has these feelings and she wants to say them, but she can't find the right words at that moment in that high emotional state. But it's normal. It's very normal to feel that. So then what I would say, Vadim, is you need to remember that language is an art. And the art is that everybody paints life differently with their words. That's the beauty of words. What's the difference between Tolstoy and Hemingway? They're very different. They had very different lives, so they wrote differently. They used language differently, right? So everybody's different. And that means that there's always another way to say something. And that's a very important skill to remember when you learn a new language. Because sometimes when you're learning a new language, you're trying to put your finger on those perfect words. The perfect ones, the ones that you have in your language, you're just trying to translate all of those, and you can't. But guess what? There's another way to do it. Can you draw? Are you good at drawing?
No.
Me neither. I'm not good at drawing at all, right? But I have a friend who's really good at drawing, and if I asked him to draw a dog, he could probably draw a dog that's like, wow, man, that's a dog. That's like art, beautiful. But I can't draw like that, but I could draw something on a piece of paper that you'll look at and you'll say, oh, it's a dog. It's ugly, but it's a dog, right? So what I'm trying to say is, language is kind of like drawing, that you don't need the perfect picture, you just need a picture someone can recognize, right? So that means sometimes when you're searching for those perfect words, the problem is you're stuck on those words. But why do you have to use those words? There are so many words to use that you can use to describe things. And I have to do this in Chinese all the time, because there are many words in Chinese that I don't know the word, but I can describe it, right? So, I don't know that word, but I can describe what it's like or what it's about, and enough for someone to know what I mean, right? So that's one of the things that you have to learn in language. It's something teachers have to learn too. A great teacher has to know how to explain the same subject 1,000 different ways, Sure. Sometimes when people ask me a question, I give my answer and it's almost the same every time. But occasionally it's not, because this person is a different person and they have a different problem, so I need to make my answer a little bit different for them, right? So, again, that's the art of teaching, is the art of, this kid needs the answer this way, but this kid needs the answer this way, right? So I have to explain things, the same thing, many different ways. It's a talent. It takes skill. It takes a bit of practice. But the first thing you have to do is you have to tell yourself to stop trying to find those perfect words and just draw a picture someone can recognize. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be perfect.
I have one remark here. It's the situation of my friend here on Hello Talk, Eugene from Moscow, and sometimes he opens his voice rooms and he talks to different people from all over the world. And he says that he can describe everything for every topic, but using simple words.
Right.
And probably it's right way,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think that it's not my way, because sometimes I want to use some tricky words, some
Mm.
complicated words, like something like sophisticated or
Okay, so here's what I
something
want to
like that.
teach you about then, Vadim. Do you know who Miles Davis is?
No.
Miles Davis was a very, very famous American jazz trumpet player. He's one of the most famous jazz trumpet players in the world, right? Or was. And jazz music is a very interesting music. It's hard to describe, to be honest, because it's so many different things. Sometimes it's fast and loud and crazy and wild and hard to understand, and sometimes it's simple and slow and romantic and simple to understand. And it can be in this style or that style or this style. It's so many, many different things. But Miles Davis was famous for one really important thing: simplicity. He played some of the most complicated music in the world. He was known as one of the most genius musicians in the world. But this was a man who had the confidence to not care about trying to play the crazy. He had the confidence to play one note. And he would hold it and just be like, wow, that was a beautiful, it was just one note, but it was just beautiful. And the fact that he didn't feel he needs to try. I don't need to show off. I don't need to use all these crazy things. And that's also because he recognized that music is not about ego. Music is about beauty. It's about art. And art is not about complexity. It's about expression. It can be simple or complex. But one lesson that every musician learns is simple music played well is always better than complicated music played poorly.
Mhm.
So how does this apply to language? Sometimes you're looking for those complicated words because you want to look smart and you want to sound smart and you want to use those big words. But if you use big words poorly, it really does not look good at all. It looks bad. But if you use simple words really, really well, people are like, wow, man, his language is good. So simple language always works. Complicated language only works sometimes. Okay? And that's about what we call reading the room. So do I have a big vocabulary? Sure I do. But I barely ever use it. I was talking about this earlier, that language has neighborhoods. Vocabulary has neighborhoods, right? So the B1, B2 neighborhood, that's a huge neighborhood. That's where most of English lives, is in that B1, B2 area. That's a lot of vocabulary, and that's the general middle level of language, right? That's where most of it lives. So it takes a while to get through that one, right? Because it's such a big neighborhood. You have to learn it. It's going to take a while, right? But C1, C2, especially C2. C2 is a small neighborhood, and honestly, I almost never use C2 language. I like C2 language. I teach C2 vocabulary, but I barely ever use it. Why?
Why? Because simple people are around you.
Well, maybe. But it's really because language can be inclusionary or exclusionary. And when you use some words that are really big, some people understand them and some people don't, which means that they are excluded. They feel excluded from your language. They don't understand you. Simple language, everybody understands. So teachers should know this. Some teachers, they use big words and they don't understand that. Guess what, man? I understand you're a college teacher and you're teaching an advanced subject, but Albert Einstein, if you don't know how to explain it simply, then maybe you don't really understand. And I've always remembered that quote because it's really true with teaching. Teaching is about trying to break things down and explain it simply. But what you need to remember, Vadim, is there's something we call reading the room. Reading the room when you're a musician means you have to look at the room and see what music are these people expecting us to play. Right? So is this a small coffee house where everybody's sitting down and it's quiet and they want some nice soft jazz music in the background? Well, if I come in there and play some loud punk rock music, they're not going to be happy about it, right? So language is like that. You have to think about which language should I use at this moment? What's the best language for this moment? What does this audience expect? And put your ego away. It has nothing to do with that, man. People already think you're smart. You're a doctor. All right? So you don't need to prove anything to anyone, all right? You're a doctor, all right, man? I'm just a drummer. All right? So just don't worry about that. Just remember that that language can be powerful and deep even when it's simple. But language that's complicated can leave people feeling not connected. They can feel like they're separated because maybe they didn't quite understand, you know? So I've met many professors like that. I've learned this when I was in school, and I saw certain professors that would use elevated language because they're in college, and I understand, and in some ways I agree, but in some ways I don't, because, again, if the purpose is to teach, then what are you teaching? Are you teaching language or are you teaching science? Because the language class should be the one where they tell you, well, you have to use complicated language here because that's what we're working on. But if you're doing science, you should use whatever language expresses the ideas in the most simple way that everyone can understand. You know?
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to explain something for the purpose of understanding, you should use language that can be understood. That's a pretty basic concept. It's like, Vadim, you're a doctor. You know this. This is true for doctors too. When a doctor has to explain what's wrong to a patient, you can't use all the big language because they're not going to understand and they're going to feel afraid. Sometimes you use those big words and they're going to be like, oh my God, you know, carcinoma, what's that? You know, like, oh no, like they don't know what anything means. Now they're scared, right? But if you tell them in simple language, that's important.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark. So, you know, sometimes I understand that I have to stop here. I have to explain in some simpler, a more simple way. And I understand that this is my specificity because I got used to use some complicated Russian texts, words, sentences, and it's very interesting for me. I like my native language very much, and I am accustomed to speak my native language very
At an elevated level.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And yes, sometimes even my wife says to me, "Be more simple," because yes, because people around you sometimes they can't understand you.
Yeah,
And
do you know?
remember about it.
Do you know what we say in English? We have a saying for that. We say KISS, K-I-S-S. It means keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. So people will always say that here, like, hey man, kiss, kiss, kiss. It just means keep it simple, stupid. Stop making it so complicated. Keep it simple, you know? Yeah, that's right, yeah. But really, Vadim, your language is great. Somebody here said maybe you don't need to connect to people who don't understand you. You're right. There are some times in life when you don't need to always worry about if everybody understands you. But if you're a doctor, you do. If you're a teacher, you do. If you are a politician, you do. If you are at work and you're trying to get business, you do, right? So there are many times when you do need to worry about if people really understand you or not. Certainly, if I'm at a bookstore and I'm talking to a friend of mine and we're having a conversation, a deep conversation about a book, and we're using big elite language, right? Academic language. Do I care if the person next to me understands me? No! No, because they're not involved. So I don't care if they understand me. But if I'm teaching a class about that same subject, now I care. Now I have to think about everybody in the room. I have to think about, are they a native speaker? Are they a non-native speaker? Do they have a disability? Do they have a hearing disorder? Do they have whatever, you know, what kind of problem do they have? And maybe they're both non-native and they have a disability, right? There are a lot of things you have to consider when you're trying to be heard. If you want to be heard, you have to think about who is hearing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for example, we have encountered three words here on this live stream. Pass out, hand out, and give out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I understand that I don't have to remember all of them. And it may be it might be absolutely sufficient to remember one of them either. Yeah.
Yes.
For example, give out or hand out.
Yes, but let me tell you this. Do you know how you can remember them pretty easily? There is a way. There's another trick that I use. I like to use tricks for the brain, to hack the brain. And one of the best ways to do that is there are certain things that your brain is trained to know or trained to remember more. For example, I use two techniques. One is called the Palace technique. And the Palace technique is based on the idea that your brain remembers locations better than it remembers anything. And the reason why is because of evolution. Evolution has taught us that you have to remember, that tree, I remember that tree. That rock, I remember that rock. You have to remember places and locations, right? That's really important for evolution, right? So that means that we have locationary knowledge that's deeper, right? We keep it deeper, that location knowledge. So what you can do is when you learn something new, for example, it works really well with vocabulary, right? So if you pick a new word, a vocabulary word, and you want to remember this word, then study the word and learn the definition, right? And read some sentences and do some regular studying. But then I want you to do one simple thing. I want you to imagine in your head, close your eyes, and I want you to pick up that word. Let's say it's the word microphone. I want you to pick up the word microphone. I want you to imagine that you are walking into your house or palace or whatever, and I want you to put that word somewhere in that house. So you carry it up to your bedroom and you put it on the bed. Or you take it and you put it in the bathroom, or you put it in the closet. You attach the information to a location, and now your brain remembers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a funny, weird trick. That's one trick I use. Another trick I use is that your brain doesn't remember things that are normal, but it does remember things that are weird. Why? Again, evolution. Normal things don't make us feel worried. They feel like, I know this. This is normal. I can accept this. There's no danger. But anything
Yes,
that's new things, when we see new things, your brain naturally wants to
dangerous.
get worried a little
Uh,
bit because, yeah, it could be dangerous. New things can be dangerous, right? So weird things are always something that make your brain go, oh, whoa, that's weird, right? So that means that if I use, let's talk about the word microphone again. If I use the word microphone in a sentence and I just say, the new microphone I bought is very expensive. All right, that's a simple sentence. It works. It's real. It's okay. No problem. It's grammatically correct, but it's boring. It's boring. It's too normal. But if I say, I hit my little brother in the face with my new microphone. Now I made a picture in your head. I made this funny story that's like I'm hitting my little brother in the face with a microphone. You'll remember that. So it's the other way I like to teach this is I call it the big pink elephant hat theory. The big pink elephant hat theory. Because if I go to Russia and I walk down the street and you're walking down the street and I see you and you see me, but we don't wave to each other, we don't say hi or anything, are you going to remember me? No, of course not.
mhm.
No, you won't remember me, right? If I'm wearing normal clothes, you definitely won't remember me. But what if I'm walking down the street and I have a big pink hat with an elephant on it? Are you going to remember me?
Of course.
Right. So that's why when you do something funny or weird, your brain remembers. So
Or dangerous.
or dangerous, right? Yeah. So you just have to create an image in your mind that is weird or funny or dangerous or something that makes it not normal. And then you'll remember. So it's one of the funny things that usually when people practice, they always try to do normal. And that's fine, but that's my recommendation is if you're going to practice a word and write a sentence, write one normal sentence and write two weird ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? That way your brain has something to hold on to that's something weird and funny. And it makes your brain work on a different level. When you think about the word normally, you're using it in the most normal way. But when you use it in a weird way, now maybe you have to think about it a little more to make sure, can I use it that way? Can I say it in this weird way? What weird thing can I do with this word? It makes you think more deeply. And that means it's connecting to your brain more, right? It's all about trying to find deep ways of learning and not shallow ways of learning. And education is a beautiful thing, but school has one big problem. It teaches you to learn for a test. It doesn't teach you. It just teaches you to learn for a test. So that's why they don't talk about things like what I'm telling these learning, remembering techniques. They don't teach you any of this because this takes time. This takes time. They want you to have a test on Friday. They have a bunch of words and you have to learn them by Friday. So the techniques that they teach you in school are short-term techniques that only work for short-term.
Yeah, and that's why people go to another level of education. I mean, university level, where they are taught to get
To think.
information
Yeah, that's right. To think.
from
That's
different
right.
sources.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's what college is supposed to be. Really, high school is supposed to be that way too. They're supposed to teach you critical thinking skills. They're not supposed to teach you information. They're supposed to teach you how to use your brain. But they don't. They usually focus on information. They usually just teach you a bunch of, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? Do you remember this date? Do you remember this idea? And they just try to shove it in your brain as much as possible, one of the people I love is Richard Feynman. Feynman was a professor, and one of the things, he's this guy who has I'm very similar to him in one regard. We're both very conceptual. We're big idea people. we focus on the concepts because the concepts are what really matter. So there are many, many drummers who are better than me technically. They're way better than me technically, but conceptually, maybe not. And I think there are a lot of drummers in my city who they know me and they're familiar with me. And I'm pretty sure all of them would probably agree with that statement, that I do have a reputation as being this kind of concept guy. So all of the concepts I teach in English, I started that with music a long time ago. And I remember when I was 19 years old, I was writing articles about concepts in music. And some of these ideas are the same ideas I teach now for language. Yeah.
Yeah, I like your comparisons of learning English and music so much, so
Yeah,
much.
they really work. Yeah, they really, really, really work. Yeah. It's just so much easier to think of it that way. When people think of doing a language, they think it's like another subject in school. No, man, it's more like a musical instrument. You're learning a talent. It's a skill. It's not a class. It's a skill. A class can be finished. A skill cannot.
Yeah, I know you are a musician and you excel of many different teachers here. I know many nice teachers here on Hello Talk, but you excel
Wow, thank you.
of them. Yeah,
Thank you.
because you are a musician.
Well, yeah, I think partly, maybe, but uh, I am. If there's one word that I think is safe to describe me, it's passionate. I'm a passionate guy. I'm passionate about what I do, whatever I do. So I'm passionate about drums. I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about teaching drums. I'm passionate about teaching and teaching English. It's a curse in a way. I'm not able to really do something unless my heart is in it. If my heart's not in it, I am not good. That's why I can't work in an office. I'm just not an office guy. Because if I don't really believe in what I'm doing, I can't do it. I just can't. I'm just programmed that way. So everything that I do because it's from way down inside. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with anything. I can't even, it's what we say about music. It's not what I do, it's what I am.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And that's why you are doing it greatly, of course. By the way, about memorizing of words, I have found one interesting sentence or phrase here on this live stream. Meat of it. Something
Yeah.
essential.
The meat of
something
it. Yeah.
main
That's right.
thing.
Yeah.
Meat
Yeah.
of it.
And we also have another one. We sometimes say meat and potatoes.
Oh.
Yeah, just means like just the sustenance. It's just like it's the meat and the potatoes of it. Means like just the basics, the most important things, the things you need to survive. It's just a little meat, a little potatoes, you're good. Right? Yeah.
And Mark, I will try to build some association between this phrase and our communication right now, this interesting live stream, and I hope it will help a lot. And that's this thing was said before by you about association in our brain. And this is another way to memorize words better.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I said, guys, make learning, you have to understand your brain in order to understand learning. And if you're just doing memorizing is basically you're pretending to learn. You're not really learning. That's not really learning. It's not a technique. please don't forget, please don't forget. That's what memorizing is, you know. So, Vadim, I have a package that just came, so I have to go. I have to go get my package. I'm going to let you go, but guys, don't go anywhere. I'm just going to go get my package. I'll be right back, okay? But Vadim, it was really, really great to talk to you, and I'll see you next time, okay, my friend? Take care, my friend. Bye-bye. So guys, just give me 1 second. I'll be right back, okay? Don't go anywhere, all right? Just give me 2 minutes to go upstairs and get a package. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I'm here. All right. Okay, let me catch my breath. That was a good conversation, though, right? That was a good conversation with Vadim. So thank you for that, Vadim. Let me check the comments, everybody, and just see if I need to answer any questions really quickly. Neodymium keeps saying, but one needs not dumb down. Sometimes you do, Neodymium. Who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to impress? You know? Language can be used for many purposes. But ego doesn't really need to be involved. It doesn't really. Okay? All right, let's see. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. My birthday is not today. My birthday is on Wednesday. So 2 more days. But thank you for the early birthday wishes. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. No comments. No more. All right. Raise your hand if you want to ask me a question. If you want to come on stage, raise your hand. Or type your question in the chat and I will try to answer it. Let me scroll back and see if I missed anything else. Let's see. Mahmoud, I don't know if you're still here, but Mahmoud asks, should we learn those 5 points in sequence? Reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking? No, not in sequence, but in balance, right? So all of the 8 points of language, you need to have a certain balance to them. You know, like imagine like you're building a table and you need the legs to be the even length, right? So if you're focused on all your vocabulary but not on grammar, then your table will be like this. So as you learn, you should try to raise things evenly, as much as you can. With the development of AI tools and other technologies, is it necessary for people to learn English? Necessary? No. No. There will come a time very soon, in the next 10 years, that you don't need to learn a language anymore because there will be technology that will do any translation you need. But should you? Or will it benefit you if you do have a language? Just because translation software will be available doesn't mean that language loses its value. If anything, it means people will really think you're smart. If you can speak a language without technology, in a few years, if you speak another language, you'll be considered a genius, because nobody will, because they'll all be lazy using technology. The intermediate plateau. Yes, that's like describing it as this land of it's this giant flat land of nothingness. All right. There's no point in arguing about tastes. I don't know what Neodymium. We're not arguing about tastes, okay? I'm a teacher of English. It's my job to tell people about all of language, not just one way to use it. And it is about ego. It always is about ego. Language is about communication. It's about communication. Simple communication always works. Sometimes you use complicated words not because you're trying to communicate better, but because you're trying to impress someone. That is ego. That is ego. That's not communication. That's not expression. That is ego. Okay? So, it's not a matter. You do what you want. You do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you how language works. Okay? Maybe Vadim wants to have intellectual conversations at an advanced level. I know, and I didn't say you can't. I said that's good in that environment. Okay? But if I show up to an academic, if I'm meeting my professors for lunch, they're all PhDs, and they're all talking about the advanced history of I don't know, let's say astrophysics. Let's talk about the beginnings of astrophysics and the startings of that science, right? And they're using advanced language for that conversation. If I am talking to them, yeah, I should use that language. If I show up to that table and I say, hey, what's up, my professors? What's up, dudes? How you doing, bros? That's not the right language for that table. It's called code switching, neodymium. It's called code switching. It's a psychological linguistic term. Code switching means that we use different language depending on who we're talking to. Everyone does this. If you're speaking to your family, you speak one way. If you're speaking to your job, you speak another way. If you're speaking to your professor, you speak one way. If you're speaking to your best friend, you speak another way. When you go to an interview for a job, you speak one way. When you go drinking with your buddies at the bar, you speak another way. It's called code switching. Code switching. All right? All right. All right, I'm trying to read and see if I missed anything else. Specialized vocabulary is different, but if people don't understand advanced language in general, that's their problem. No, it's not. It's your problem. If you are trying to communicate with them, then it's your problem. Okay? All right. Anything else here? Let's see. Can I tell what level someone is when they speak with me? Yes, usually. I might need to speak with you for a little bit, but yeah. If I speak with you for something like 10 minutes, I should be able to tell your language pretty well. I can probably guess sooner than that, but if I want to be accurate, then maybe I need to speak with you for between 10 and 30 minutes, and then I can tell you what level you are. Okay? What's my tips for learners who have time deficit? Be creative. Find ways to learn in small amounts, right? So figure out a method for trying to learn some things in 5-minute intervals. Right? When you're in the elevator, you can read something and learn. When you're in the taxi cab, you can read something and learn. When you have a 5-minute break between patients, you can read something and learn. So try to find 5-minute learning sessions, right? And 20-minute ones too, right? So most of my learning I try to do between 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and 1 hour or more. So I'm always learning because I'm always trying to find some of each of those. Some are deep study, that's an hour or more. Some are just 20 minutes, like a TED Talk or something. Some are just 5 minutes, like a quick article or a quick exercise, right? If you're learning on 3 levels like that, and you have to creatively find ways to make your daily life learning. If you make learning a lifestyle, then you can find time, okay? What's the difference between passion and enthusiasm? Not much. You know, sometimes they're about the same. Sometimes people use them interchangeably. They'll say he has a lot of enthusiasm, he has a lot of passion. But passion is a little bit more of an artistic term, and enthusiasm is more of an energy term. So to do something with enthusiasm means that you have energy and you like it. To do something with passion means you have love, you have a passion. The word passion, originally, the word passion, it means suffering. Suffering, to suffer, means to feel pain. So why do we call it passion? Because passions are the things that you love so much that you are willing to suffer for them. Right? So when you study so much that like you forgot to eat and you haven't slept because you studied so much, that's passion. That's not enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is more like, I love basketball and they just asked me to play basketball. I'm enthusiastic about basketball. That's, but there's some mix. There's some mix in there. Okay. There's a little overlap. So, Gala, English words, sometimes they mean exactly the same. Sometimes they mean almost the same, right? That happens a lot. Yeah. You said English is a language learned as an easy way to, but India, the accent is important. Okay, I never said the accent wasn't important. I have tips for that. If you live in India and you speak English, I have one very simple tip for you. Open your mouth more. Most people don't understand Indians when they speak English because Hindi and the other Indian languages, most of those languages, they use a very small mouth. All of the sounds of that language use a small mouth. So when Indians speak English, they usually have a very small mouth. If your mouth is very small when you speak, then it's harder for people to understand you. But if you open your mouth more when you speak, and just like me, if you slow down a little bit, they will understand you. Okay? Oh, geez. When you learn Urdu and then after you do English, it's too difficult and boring, well, life is hard. Life is hard, man. Nobody told you you have to learn English. If you don't want to, then don't. But people do it all the time. So when you say it's hard, so what? People do it. Lots of things are hard, but people do them. So you can too. Okay? You're going to travel to the United States, you're afraid of being shot, what should I do? I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think that it's a very, very small possibility. I wouldn't worry about it. All right. But let's not talk about things like that right now, okay? Which of the following sentences is ordinary English? Lightning, flashed, lightning. You found this question. Lightning flashed would be the proper way to say it. Flashed lightning by itself does not make sense because it's an incomplete sentence. But you could use the term flashed lightning maybe if it were in a full sentence. Maybe I could say the flashed lightning startled me. It'd be an awkward way of saying the lightning that flashed startled me. Okay, but language is an art, not a science, so you could do it. Okay, but the proper answer for a single sentence would be lightning flashed. Okay? All right. What sports do I like? None of them. I liked sports when I was younger, okay? I'm older now, and to be honest with you, I don't understand why it's so important. It's not important. It's not that, I just don't get it. It's a game! They're all games. They're all games that people take way too seriously. Okay? If you go see a rock band and they don't play well, nobody is like, oh my God, my life is over. That band didn't play well. My life is over. Let's destroy the city. That band didn't play the music well. But a soccer team or a baseball team or a football team, if they lose, people lose their minds. It's stupid. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. That's how I feel about it. When there are very important things to worry about, I don't have time for unimportant things. Sorry. It's okay if you like them. You can. I'm not trying to say you can't. That's fine if you do. I know I'm the weird one. Okay, but I just think sports just bore me. You know, if I go to a game, I'll watch. But do I care? No. I don't care at all. I don't care what team wins. I don't care what team is from where. I don't care which one's the best. I don't care who spent so much time. I just don't. There are other things that are more important. What books do you read? What skills do you have? Can you pronounce the word regret? Regret. 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 Okay? It's common, sure, yeah. It's common if you need to use that word, yeah. The scenery in the United States is very good. What do I recommend? If you're coming to the United States and you can go anywhere and you want to see scenery, then the two most important things I would say would be go see the Grand Canyon and go see Yellowstone National Park. Those are two of the most beautiful places in the United States, I think. Okay, let's see. It's important to always do sports. No, it's important to stay healthy. It's important to do exercise, but it's not important to do sports. How can you know what you're good at? What do people say you're good at? Do I play board games? Occasionally, not often, but on the rare occasion. My nephew likes to play board games sometimes. Maybe I'll play with him. Startled, frightened, terrified, scared. Let's see. Synonyms for that would be... Oops. No. Afraid, anxious, fearful, panicked, panicky, startled, petrified, shaken, terrified, panic-stricken, terror-stricken. Those would be some. Okay? Do I do any exercise or sports? I do... well, yes. I do play the drums partly to do exercise, right? So I'll practice drums for 2 or 3 hours, and believe me, that's good exercise. But I also have a treadmill, and I walk on the treadmill sometimes. I do a little running or walking on the treadmill. And then I do a whole lot of difficult, heavy outside work, right? Like taking care of the outside house and stuff, right? So, you know, cutting the grass and cutting down the branches and the trees and logs and a lot of yard work, okay? And I like to go hiking for exercise too. So I like to do exercise that's an activity. I don't like to just pick up weights and just go, I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to go running for an hour. No, I like to go hiking for an hour. But I don't like to run in a circle for an hour. So I prefer to get my exercise through some sort of activity. And sports, I don't play any sports anymore, but I did when I was younger. I played soccer, I played baseball, I played basketball when I was younger. Okay? Does Teacher Mark have a beer belly? Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. But I'm 50. It happens. It happens. I said I'd talk about positive thinking with someone from the UK. Yeah, Taylor, that didn't work out. I'm not sure why that didn't work out, but that didn't work out. he forgot a couple times, so I guess, I don't know, we'll try to do it again another time. We'll see. But it didn't work out for some reason. Listening of the right people mentioned before, trying to speak 50-50 or another ration would be preferable. Vadim, I don't quite understand your question. Oh, I think I get it now. What proportion should you do your 5 aspects of language, of active language? That depends on you. So everybody's different. Everybody has different learning goals, right? Some people want to have academic level English, right? That's a very different goal than having travel English or slang common English, right? So first you have to figure out what your goal is, what your goals, your learning goals are. Once you know your learning goals, then you have to figure out what your weaknesses and what your strengths are. Okay, so if you are really good at writing and listening, then that's not what you need to work on. You need to work on your reading and speaking, right? So, weaknesses and strengths, those are important too, because you should focus on your weaknesses. Most students don't do that. Most students focus on their strengths because it makes them feel good. It feels good to do things that are easy. So we never do the hard things. But if you really want to get good, if you really want to improve, you have to focus on the hard things. That's why nobody ever does that. Okay? When I try to learn something new, the first thing I do is focus on the hard things. I always focus on the hard things first. Because again, it's supposed to be hard. It's new. It's learning. It's not supposed to be easy. Okay, it's supposed to be a challenge, right? So, after you know your learning goals and then you know your strengths and weaknesses, then you can decide which of the 5 active parts of language you need to focus on the most. I really think thinking is the most important, and everybody needs to work on thinking. But some people, they need more speaking and less writing, right? And some people, they need more listening and less reading. So after you know your goals, your learning goals, and you know your strengths and weaknesses, then you can try to determine which of the 5 areas of language you should focus on the most. Okay? And then remember that those are the 5 active parts of language, right? Reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. Those are the active parts. But to do the active parts, you have to be good at the passive parts of language. And the passive parts of language are vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Okay, so you have to study grammar to be good at reading, writing, listening, and speaking. You have to study vocabulary to be good at the reading, writing, listening, speaking, thinking. You have to study pronunciation to be good at these other things, right? So there are 3 passive parts and 5 active parts of language. All right? I'm a drummer, that's exercise. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, but people just don't realize how much exercise it really is. Yeah. Okay, anybody else want to raise their hand? I have time for maybe one more person. I have been here for almost 2 hours. It's been 1 hour and 55 minutes. So if you want to come talk to me on stage, you can, if you raise your hand. Taylor, teaching is a job of repetition. I've been saying these things for years. You have no idea how many times I've said these things, man. People say that all the time. Sometimes people come here and they say, Mark, how do you do it? You have to say the same stuff over and over and over again. Of course I do. The answers are the answers. Why are we not patient in reaching our goals? We just exit at the first stop. Because you think that learning is something that you can finish. But if you don't think you can finish, then you stop worrying about finishing. It's easy to be patient when you stop looking at the finish line. If you're looking at the finish line all the time, then you're worried about finishing. Stop looking at the finish line. If you just tell yourself there is no finish line. What am I doing? Why am I looking at the finish line but there is no finish line? Do I use the expression the proof is in the pudding? Yes, proof, P-R-O-O-F. Proof is in the pudding. That just means if you use it or do it, you will see that it works. Right? So you'll see that, like, oh, well, this thing works, so that's proof that it works. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Yeah. It's a funny one. I wouldn't say that one's super common, though. I'm going to look to see where does that come from. I bet there's a story. The proof is in the pudding is a shortened version of an older proverb. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, which originated in the 1600s in Britain. The phrase implied that the quality and the worth of a pudding, which was a type of sausage or meat, could only be determined by tasting it. So the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, that's what I meant. It means that if you try it, you'll see that it works. Or if you taste it, you'll see that it's good. That's the proof is in the pudding. Okay? The proof. P-R-O-O-F. And yeah, pudding. In America, pudding is a dessert. It's a sweet dessert, like chocolate pudding is a very, very famous, common dessert. Okay? But in England, pudding can actually be a few different things. It could be meat or sausage. There's a few different ways that they use the word pudding over there. Okay, guys, let's see. I want to remind everybody once again that if you want to follow me, you can go to my Linktree. And on my Linktree, you can find my website. And on my Linktree, you can find my blog and my podcast and my YouTube channel. If you want to study English, go check out all 4 of those. Okay? If you say you want to learn English, then you're in the right place. But it doesn't happen like this. Learning takes consistency. Learning is a marathon. So, to run a marathon, you have to have patience. You have to have dedication. You have to have tenacity. Do you guys know what tenacity means? To be tenacious? It's a great word. It means that you're like a tiger that's hungry. A hungry tiger. Does a hungry tiger ever stop looking for a meal? No. A hungry tiger never stops looking. That's to be tenacious. So, why am I telling you this? I'll tell you why. Because I'm here almost every day. And almost every day, people say, I really want to learn English. I really need to learn English. But every day, I see those people not doing anything. Everyone says, I need to learn English. I need to do it. It's really important that I do it. But then you don't do anything. You don't have a plan. You don't do anything consistently. You don't practice. You don't study. You don't have a process. If you really want to learn something, then why doesn't it look like it? It doesn't look like you really want to learn. You just said you really want to learn. If you say you really want to learn, then do what you need to do to really learn. Okay? All right. I am going to go, but I do want to remind you that, yes, on Wednesday, that's my birthday. Wednesday is my birthday, and I will be 50 years old. I'm an old man now. Halfway to 100. And I'm going to try to do a very, very long live stream. I'm going to do a very long live stream on my birthday. We'll see how long. But you should come, because I'm going to be teaching English, and I'm going to be talking, and maybe I'll have some guests and some friends who will come, and I'm probably going to order some pizza or have some food. I'll play some drums. I'll play some music. Okay? So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. You should come and hang out. You can send me a tip if you want to give me a birthday present. Okay? So come and see me on Wednesday for sure. But again, I've been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I have 84,000 followers. They don't follow me because I'm cute. Okay? All right. I have to go. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening wherever you live in the world. And I will see you guys tomorrow or Wednesday or both. All right? Okay. Bye, everyone.